Hey, this is Brooke, functional medicine dietitian specializing in fertility, and this is the Fertility Dietitian podcast, where I help you uncover the barriers that are preventing you from optimizing your fertility and teach you how to work with your body to finally take home a healthy baby. Each week, I will be diving into different topics on fertility and sharing my perspective on physiology, metabolic health, nutrition, and lifestyle approaches that have helped hundreds of couples get pregnant even after years of heartache. My goal is to empower you with the knowledge you need to take back control of your fertility. Happy listening. Fat can be a very confusing topic in the fertility world and really the health world. Should you eat more or less? What types are best to eat? Should I avoid other types? If you have these questions, you are not alone, and today we're going to clear all of this up for you. In a nutshell, we shouldn't fear fat, but where we get our fat and how we eat it matters. Fats are naturally found in large amounts in our egg cells and surrounding follicular fluid, with the majority being saturated fat, and more specifically, stearic acid, which is found in highest amounts in foods like our beef, our pork, our lamb, and our dairy products. Fat plays a really important role in reproductive hormone production. All of our steroid hormones, like our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, are actually derived from cholesterol. And when fat and cholesterol intake is restricted, it results in lower hormone levels, wacky cycles, and more challenges with getting pregnant. In other words, low fat, low cholesterol diets impair ovarian hormone production, while higher saturated fat intake is actually associated with normal ovulation. Fat-rich foods are also rich in nutrients that are required for fertility, like choline, which is involved in brain development and the prevention of neural tube defects in baby. So, minimizing your intake of cholesterol also decreases your intake of choline. Our fat soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K are also found in fat rich foods, which makes a lot of sense because they need fat to be absorbed. And these vitamins support fertility in really big ways as well. For instance, vitamin A in the form of retinol is only found in animal foods, in highest concentrations in fatty animal foods. And eating a low saturated fat or low cholesterol diet leads to a lack of this retinol intake. Vitamin A is required for hormone production in the ovaries. It's required for follicle maturation and for embryo development, and even impacts baby's brain, eyes, thyroid, lungs, and immune system development. All a really big deal for conception, healthy pregnancy, and that healthy baby. Vitamin A even helps regulate gene expression, which is a really big deal for egg quality and embryo development. Vitamin D is also essential for egg quality. And did you know that AMH can actually be artificially low if there is a vitamin D deficiency? Yes. So I have a whole episode on AMH that I'll link in the show notes before if you have more questions about how diet impacts AMH levels as well. Another fat soluble vitamin, vitamin E, is also an antioxidant. It supports our natural detox pathways and protects eggs and sperm health and protects them from oxidative stress or damage. So it supports the quality of our egg and sperm because it protects them from damage. Vitamin K is also a fat soluble vitamin that is really important for blood clotting, specifically K1, and playing a role in uterine lining health for successful implantation. Okay, so you are understanding that fat is good and saturated fat and cholesterol shouldn't be feared, but you can't just get this fat from any source and expect the same outcomes. Where you are getting the saturated fat makes a difference. Research has shown that the effect that saturated fat has on health and fertility depends on what other nutrients are present, and the distribution of macronutrients or carb to fat ratio also matters. In other words, if saturated fat is being consumed from lots of processed foods, the outcomes are different than if it is being consumed from grass fed beef or whole fat dairy products, whole eggs, and seafood. A low carb, high saturated fat diet actually improves cholesterol, blood sugar, and insulin levels, all of which are going to improve fertility. Omegas are another category of fats that are important for fertility as well. These are technically unsaturated fats. So we're going to talk about which ones to pay more attention to in this category. There are actually two types of fatty acids that are essential for us to include in our diet because we can't make them ourselves. Okay. This is linoleic acid, which is omega 6, and alpha linolenic acid, which is our omega 3s. So these are both unsaturated fats in that omega category. We thrive when we consume a 1-to-1 balance of omega 6 to omega 3 fatty acids. But when omega 6 intake outweighs omega 3 intake, we run into trouble in the form of inflammation in the body. And a typical Western diet has a ratio of anywhere of 10-to-1 to 20-to-1 ratio, with that omega 6 way outweighing that omega 3 intake. Okay, this is a big concern for fertility and certainly overall health. Inflammation is linked to countless health conditions, including subfertility, which can be thyroid conditions, autoimmune conditions, poor gut health, ovulation disorders, etc., and infertility. Okay. The biggest culprit of omega 6 fats in our diet are vegetable oils, including corn oil, canola oil, soy oil, safflower, and cottonseed oils. Really, all of our processed seed oils, which are marketed as vegetable oils, right? These aren't really vegetables, most of them are processed seeds. These oils are very delicate and they require a lot of processing of this seed in order to get that oil. What I mean by being very delicate is that they go rancid really easily when they're stored in clear plastic or when they're heated or when they're exposed to air. Okay, so typically we see our processing vegetable oils in plastic, right? And then we heat them, also leading to damage. When an oil goes rancid, it creates toxic compounds called free radicals and reactive oxygen species. These compounds are linked to egg and sperm cell damage, increased inflammation, longer time to conception, increased risk of miscarriage, and even preterm labor. Okay, so this is a really big deal. Higher follicular fluid levels of omega 6 fats, especially those types of omega 6 fats found in these processed seed oils, are actually associated with decreased egg development and poor egg quality in women that are going through IVF. So, remember way back at the beginning of this episode when I said that our follicular fluid actually has a fair amount of saturated fat in it. When we outweigh our saturated fat intake with more omega 6 intake, that shifts and it impacts what's happening with the quality of our eggs and what is happening with ovulation and how those follicles are developing. Okay. So, high consumption of these omega 6 fats also deplete nutrients like vitamin E that are crucial for embryo development and the quality. And it is also essential for placental development and blood vessel development that transfers nutrients to the baby. So, inflammatory oils contribute to a higher omega 6 intake, can actually deplete other nutrients like vitamin E, which are very much necessary for embryo development and the quality of that embryo. This is a big deal. So, if someone is questioning whether seed oils are really bad and why, feel free to refer them to this episode. This is all research that I'm talking about here. Okay. Limiting vegetable oils in your diet is the best way to decrease omega 6 intake. And yes, I did mention that omega-6, just like omega-3s, are fatty acids that we need to get in our diet, but you are going to get plenty of omega-6s even if you eliminate these processed seed and vegetable oils. I promise you. Okay. Ideally, you want to focus on increasing your omega-3 intake while you're focusing on ditching that seed and vegetable intake to decrease that omega-6 intake. Okay. So, to increase those omega-3s, you want to focus on fatty fish and pasture raised eggs. Pasture raised eggs are going to have a much higher amount of omega-3s versus omega-6s. If the chicken ate grains or the seeds that are high in omega-6s, they are going to have higher omega-6s in their eggs, right? Hey, grass-fed beef, also higher in omega-3s than conventionally raised beef. Also, omega-3s from plants are actually in a different form, which is very, very poorly converted into a usable form in our bodies. So please don't rely on plants alone for omega-3 intake. But we'll talk a little bit more about specific foods below to really focus in on. So if you remember one thing from this episode, please remember that fats naturally occurring in whole food should not be feared. This is a list of foods that will help you reach your fat goals and really your protein goals too, because a lot of fats are actually packaged up in protein in a whole food diet. So the foods that we want to think about including and not fearing in our diet include pork and pork fat, beef and beef fat, duck and duck fat, and chicken that is like the legs and the thighs. Skin on the chicken also impacts the fat content there that you're getting from that chicken. Butter, ghee, heavy cream, sour cream, cream cheese, and the quality of your dairy definitely makes a difference too. So ideally, organic grass-fed is going to be even more beneficial here. And then plant foods that have naturally occurring omega-3s in them are olives, coconuts, avocados, nuts, and the unprocessed oils from these foods. So you're looking for extra virgin oils of these foods and making sure that they're packaged in a dark glass bottle because they also are susceptible to damage. Which creates damage inside our bodies as well. And don't cook with these oils at high temperatures. Aside from like your coconut oil, which can withstand higher temps, and even ghee can stand a little higher temps. But in general, like your plant oils, are easily damaged. So, leading to more oxidative stress and damage in your body and your cells as well. So, focusing on those fats and avoiding processed vegetable and seed oils, as well as trans fats or hydrogenated oils, which there's very little of in our food supply anymore, but something to just be aware of. Is what you want to think about when you're thinking about fat and supporting fertility. Fertility is a very complex puzzle, really. And successful pregnancy actually requires a delicate interplay of hormones. So, going back to the basics with nutrition and lifestyle can make all of the difference. And it can be extremely overwhelming to do, but you don't have to do it alone. So, if you're looking for additional help, feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Fertility Dietitian podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave a review to let me know what topics you want more of or less of. If you want to keep learning, subscribe at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Check out my website for more info on my private coaching program, Master Your Fertility, or my membership community, Fertility Blueprint. And don't forget my digital store. Come say hi on YouTube and Instagram. See you in the next episode.